This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. For those about to rock, we salute you.
Hello, kiddies. We're going to have a good time together. And I think, Heidi, if the question is where it is, you would say...
Oh, there it is. Or Scoop.
Scoop, there it is. Exactly. This week we have with us DC, the Brain Supreme from Tag Team.
Yes.
And I got to say, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much, but to go from Phil Manzanera to DC, you know...
that's some pretty heavy coursework there.
Yeah, you're moving, Larry King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. Rest in peace.
Exactly. Let's call out somebody who no longer hosts the show.
Yeah, that's a great competitor for us to have.
Exactly.
And I think DC would be very disappointed in what he taught us based on what we're saying right now.
Excellent. Yes. Because that's the interesting thing, I think, with our talk with Phil. We got a lot of insight into recording and how he likes to work. And DC gave us the complete other side of the business, which is nowhere near as attractive and glamorous. But I think you can see very much how and why he is in the position he is in now because of his hard work throughout the past. Yeah.
And that although that side of the business may not be as interesting, our talk with him is very interesting. And
this is true. Thank you for highlighting that.
You're welcome. And the way he has carved out his professional trajectory and accomplishments, it's really outstanding. And it's kind of words to live by and things to learn from no matter what path you choose.
No, and I've
your destiny.
Yes. I mean, we even when we were finished talking with him, spent, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes afterwards, just being like, I'm so energized. I got to go do something now. And I don't want to say we don't always get that with guests, but DC really gives you some things to work towards and kind of makes it applicable to you. And you understand why he's good at sort of promotion and getting people motivated. And you know, he's and we are certainly motivated.
We are. We've definitely been applying some of the things he suggested, at least trying to, or talking about how to, first steps to.
Exactly. So it will be good for us to listen to this again and maybe sit there with a notepad and take down all the things that DC says that we forgot from the first time around.
Yes.
So enjoy that. Enjoy DC.
Get some ice cream.
And I guess we should probably also tease this episode is coming out on a regular Wednesday schedule.
Yes.
But Friday, July 2nd, we have a bonus episode coming out. It is our conversation with Cherry Vanilla that we had a while ago on why.
Yes.
But any time spent with Cherry is worth it. Any time spent revisiting time with Cherry is worth it.
Always worth it.
And she's got some really good stories.
Oh yeah. If you don't know who she is, you need to, because she is outstanding. And she certainly created her own destiny too.
Tasha, did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and a whole lot more? So what are you waiting for? Hip Hop Group Tag Team to help you plan dessert?
French vanilla, rocky road, chocolate, peanut butter cookie dough. Scoop this, scoop this, scoop this, scoop this, scoop.
One of the things that I think is so interesting with your story, because a lot of people, when we talk to them, there is that question of like, well, when you recorded it, did you know it was a hit single? Did you know this was going to work? You knew right away that you had something as soon as you went into the studio, correct?
And you know, I'm a young man and my hubris is out of control. Come on now. Like everything I make is a hit record, you know? So that was it. But I was working at a club. I was working at like the #1 club in Atlanta at the time. And we recorded it that day. And I brought it to work that night, played it on a cassette. And to this day, that is the biggest response on any record that I have ever had in my life. Because, usually play a record, there might be 2 or 3 people say, hey man, what's that? Where can I get it? I play Whoop, there it is. 15 people came to the DJ booth. Like, yo, what is that? And I was like, that's my new record. And, me being young and full of it, I'm thinking every record I do is going to be a hit record. So I kind of shelved it. Right. And I think this was 92, August of 92. I think I shoved it to like January. One of the girls was like, how come you don't play Whoop, There It Is anymore? I was like, I'll play it. Play it again. Same thing happened. But this time there was, back then we had record company reps who would bring us vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
And they would service the radio stations and they would service the DJs and the record pools. And his name was Alan Cole. He was with Columbia Records. And he was like, yo, what is that? And I was like, that's my new record. He's like, give it to me. I'm sending it to New York. He sent it to New York. I get a call from Columbia Records. I'm like, it's that easy? I gave it to everybody. And now I'm talking to Epic, A&M, Warner Brothers, Tommy Boy. I'm talking to everybody, right? But nobody knows what to do with it because it's bass music. And the record company universe, was centralized in LA and New York. So that's what it was back then. And, you had to kind of be an independent label and have it already out there for somebody to notice you. And then they'll snatch you up, right? So I almost gave up. And then a lady named Lisa McCall called me, from Mercury Records. She's like, you need to call Al Bell. He put out a record last year, Daisy Dukes by Deuce, and it went gold, and it was a bass record. And we knew these guys. So for those who don't know who, back in the day, the first 3 soul companies that started black music was Philly International, Motown, and Stax Records with Al Bell. And I called him, took him about 2 weeks to call me back. And he called me and he's like, Mr. Glenn. I was like, who's this? It's like, this is Al Bell. I was like, oh, all right. Mr. Bell, let me tell you something. I got a hit record. I've tested it. Everybody loves it. You'd be a fool not to sign us. You need to sign us now, right? I was just real passionate. And he was like, okay. And I was like, wait. You hadn't even heard the record. And to this day, I'll never forget these words. He said, brother, I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit. Let's agree to agree and get this thing going. And I gave him 2 weeks at Magic City, which is the club that I was at, signed a messed up record deal. And in a month and a half, we were platinum, and the rest is history.
So
That's outstanding.
did you know who Al Bell was when you
I
were
had
still
no
like?
idea. I had no idea.
I guess you probably would have spoken to him differently if you knew who he
I
was.
had no idea. I mean,
Yes. Ignorance is bliss. Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Because I grew up in Denver and went to school in California, so my exposure to soul music was only what my father listened to, right? So I knew nothing about Stax. I knew a couple Motown hits, right? Knew Lenny Williams, but I got exposed to it when I got to Atlanta. And I didn't know who he was, but I found out real quick. And he did a great job getting us out there. And I can't say that. I mean, it was all good for the first 4 years, right? Traveled the world, making a lot of money, but then he went bankrupt. And when he went bankrupt, another record company bought it out of bankruptcy. And then the battle ensued because rights were taken and all that. And I'm like, well, where's my money? So now we're left out in the cold. Our career is stymied because even if I put out a record, I'm got to deal with either one of those 2 record companies if it's successful, because you know how people are. They're greedy. So, I knew back then when I signed that contract that this is my thinking. It might not be the ideal contract, but we'll deal with it later. I want to be a rock star. I don't care, right? And I dealt with it later. It was hard. It was difficult, but I usually, I take responsibility for my action because I'm a grown man. And I knew what I did. And I looked at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. And I knew I would have my day in court. And I said, just lay back and let them bloody themselves. And when, when everything settles down, then we can figure out who gets what, who owes what, and all that. So what I did is I basically became a paralegal. And I just made sure I had everything organized, all the discovery, all our old contracts, our first publishing deal, our first, when we, sent our copyright to the Library of Congress, all those things. And then when we go to the record company, they would give us a stack of stuff, paperwork and things that we assigned. And I just put it in a FedEx box and sent it to my mom, which was the best thing I could ever did because it was just sitting in a trunk in the basement. And I had everything. So when it was my time to go to court, I gave our lawyers a big box of discovery, which was in 2017, 20 years later, and we prevailed, but at a cost. You go to war, you lose an arm, you lose a leg, come back with an eye patch, but we were finally out from under that cloud, right? And I never looked at it that way because that experience made me the person I am today because I said this will never happen to me again. And therefore I started on a journey of making sure that it never happened to me again. And I became a financial, licensed commodities broker because I said, hey, nobody's going to take money from me again, right? Then I started running my life like a corporation because I'm like, I'm going to have a business and I'm going to flourish. And then, I'm back DJing now. So I'm like, well, while I'm DJing, might as well be the marketing director. So I put together a business plan and started, didn't realize how hard it was, but I put together a business plan and did a marketing presentation for the owner. And she cut me a check for 25 G's because I did it effectively. So I learned how to do all these things by running my life like a corporation. And about that time, I knew, this is like 2003, 2004, I knew that Womb There It Is would be an evergreen record because I'm sitting in a movie theater and I'm looking at Will Ferrell dance on the table to Womb There It Is and Elf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that it's going to be played forever, every Christmas. Not only that, but every year it's in a commercial or it's in something, or we're doing a show, top, 100 records of all time or whatever. You know what I mean? So now it's up to me to get my money, right? But because I do, because I'm the marketing for the club, or just because of the way I am and how tenacious I am and how I don't quit, this is a lesson for everybody. Whenever I do something, if I, especially my younger days, if I have a job, if I'm at a job, I am not just your DJ. I am your light tech. I am your sound guy. I do your flyers. I do your radio spots. I do your television spots. I do your fashion photography. I, do everything. I make myself invaluable, right? Because when you make yourself invaluable, most people will see it as, I'm not about to do all that extra work. But what they don't understand is that somebody is paying for your education while they're paying you. If you just put forth the effort, it's just how you think about it. I just think about things differently. If I'm gonna be at this club, I'm gonna do everything I can and learn every aspect of it to be invaluable, where if they do fire somebody, they can't fire me. And if I do decide to want to go somewhere, they're gonna pay me not to go. And that's what happened for a long time. And that's all you have to do if you're in a job that you hate. Because even if you do that and you still hate your job, the transition to the next thing will be smoother than it is if you just get your feet taken out up front of you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I try to tell people that all the time, but I guess it takes a special way of thinking to even want to have to endure all of that. But, I owe that to my parents because my parents worked me like a dog. And I've been, stemming collard greens and shucking peas since I was 5 years old. My mom had a prep cook. My dad made me wash the car and cut the grass and all those things, right? And I never have feared work. I always can get a job. I always will work. I always will work harder than everybody. And I try to get smarter. And since I am the marketing manager now of the whole club, I like doing the radio spots and I like how my voice sounds. Let me start taking lessons and getting mastery of voiceover. I start doing voiceover. I start SEO. I start websites. I start all these things that might just be, stuff that you do when you work at a club. But these were things that over the years I've become very masterful at, right? So now all those seeds that were laid have become my options 10, 20 years later. So if I want to do something because of my experiences, because I've trained in everything that I've done in my life, all these things serve me and I'm self-sufficient, right? So, that's just a testament to what I have done in my career, because when I started voiceover, it was hard. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I could just whoop, there it is, my way through it. But I was wrong. I was very wrong, right? But I didn't quit. I kept at it. And, after the trial, I get a call. I was depressed too after the trial.
Sure.
I don't know why. I just, because, it was over and all that anxiety was off of me. But then the reality hit, what are you going to do? Because I retired from DJing. I don't want to be a 50-year-old DJ. So I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Then I get a call. Hey, DC, we really love your voice. We want to pay you 10 G's to do this. Bam, voiceover, because I didn't quit. Right. And then after I got that job, then it was like, oh, people started to recognize my voice. Then I got an agent, the biggest agent in the Southeast, the People Store Agency. They signed me. And now I'm really cranking. Right. And then I'm up at the office. I meet the owner. The owner's like, I love your face. Put him on camera. Like, what's that mean? Like, you're an actor now. What? Okay. What I gotta do? Gotta get headshots. You gotta go to class. Go to my first couple classes. And I got hooked. And I was in class every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day till the pandemic. And I trained. And I'm still training. I'm training for 5, 6, 7 things. Because, the pandemic is probably one of the single most greatest things that ever happened to me, beside all the other stuff, right? The other stuff is the other stuff. We all know it, we dealt with it. But, it forced everybody to stop at the same time, right? And then it was that same question, what are you going to do? Can't do shows, can't do this, can't do that. But because I never gave up, because I mastered all these different things, I knew I could go back to this. And I reinvented myself. And I went back to 2009 and I recorded everything I do and started listening to those old tapes and was just heartbroken. Because I had to, if you ever just want to just really be depressed and feel just cringy, listen to yourself have a conversation 10 years ago.
No, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
It's different to hear you say something, 1 or 2 lines, but to hear yourself have a whole conversation with another human being 10 years ago is heartbreaking. And I realized that, I thought it was my coaches that weren't training me right, but I realized that my obstacle was me, right? And I got even more depressed, but then at the same time, I was inspired because I'm like, wait a minute, though. I understand what they're saying now. I get what they're trying to tell me because I'm an actor and I didn't give up as a voice artist. And acting and voiceover, they're kind of similar. So you learn from one thing and get better at the other, and they all work together. And now let me do this first voiceover I did that's making my skin crawl. And I did it. I listened to it, and it was angelic because it was the first time in my life I had mastery over my voice. And I haven't looked back. And I went through 40 2-hour sessions in the month of March when everybody thought we were going to turn into zombies and start eating each other. And April 2020, my acting coach calls me from LA and says, hey, I got a movie I'm casting you for. Can you travel? I'm like, yes, ma'am. I got a hazmat suit. Let's go. And I shot my first movie. And it's a movie and a documentary in the middle of a pandemic. Go figure. And came back, and then a couple months later, I shot my second movie in the middle of Georgia. Go figure. And then I booked a fall campaign for voiceover for Publix food chain. And then I booked a Tyler Perry episode of House of Pain. And then here come Geico. 2020 is the greatest year of my life. And, I get a call from my agent. You booked a Geico commercial. And I was like, don't play with my emotions, please. Because I hadn't even auditioned for a Geico commercial. and they're like, DC, you booked a Geico commercial. They want you. They said they want a tag team. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to check the tag team phone because I've been in the SEO game for 10 years because 2010, everybody thought Barack Obama was in our music video. So we did a whole week of press, CNN, everybody, all the, just tons of PR. And at the end of that week, I was kind of depressed because I had nothing to show for it because we didn't have a web presence because it was, if people can't find you, they're not going to give you money. Right. So I had to, I said, that's going to stop. And that's when I started my SEO career, search engine optimization, building websites, get on the first page of Google, that type of stuff. And fast forward, back then you type in tag team, it was all wrestling. You type in tag team today, it's all tag team. And, they called me. I didn't answer the phone. They went to IMDb, my acting portal, found my agent, called my agent. Now I'm like, this is synergy because my agent does these commercials. I'll let them make the deal. And it is the biggest deal that I've ever made in my life. This Geico commercial.
It's so interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's so interesting. You keep using the word mastery. And just at the beginning, as you're talking about the lawsuit and everything else, as I kept thinking, like, you got your master's and it's sort of like you've just got, over the past, few years, multiple masters in multiple different avenues.
Yeah.
Through just the dedication of saying, no, I'm going to figure this out now.
Because everybody's telling me I can't do it. Everybody's like, DC, you got tentacles everywhere. You can't do everything. I'm like, I'm a good photographer. Yeah, but you ain't making no money. It's not about that. But you got tentacles everywhere. I'm like, yeah, but after a while, they all become one. They serve you. And they used to say, DC, you the jack of all trades, master of none. I'm like, all right. But now, if you live long enough, you hustle hard enough, and there's this tactic. It helps me more than anything. I call it learn how to learn. You learn how to learn. Keep your emotions in check, and realize things are not a quid pro quo. Life opens up for you, and now you become masterful at some of those trades, right? So it's crazy because before this, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was like, she had called me and said, what can I do for you? And I'm like, kind of nothing, because she's like, that's not true. I was like, yeah, it is, because the things I know how to do, only I can do. And if I got somebody, if somebody else did them for me, I end up having to do them twice. So therefore, the only way it's going to work is if I teach somebody how to do it. That's why I'm starting an internship program, because I'm looking for young individuals or any individual who is willing to learn what I can teach them. And in return, I will teach them how to make money from what I teach them and what they do for me. Perfect example, I need writers, right? But writing is difficult because you don't know how to write for me, right? You can do the regular writing, but it's more to it. I only know my vision and where I want to go, because I write for SEO, right? I write for different things. I don't just write. I write Wikipedia pages, but Wikipedia pages have to be written a different way. But I can teach you how to do this. I can teach you how to fish. And now you're going to do all this work for me, but I'm going to show you how to make money doing it once you leave me, right? Because that is a very highly sought after field, people writing for Wikipedia pages, because it is very difficult. And one little mistake, you get your whole Wikipedia page taken down. That's why you have to pay somebody to do it that knows what they're doing. Now I can do that, but it takes time, right? So these are the things that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And I think different, like with the Geico commercial. Everybody was like, I know you're happy. You're happy and ecstatic that you got a Geico commercial. I'm like, not really. Because usually when you get a Geico commercial, you are out of here. You're on tour, right? But we're in the middle of a pandemic. Oh, yeah. So what am I going to do? Well, I tell you what, I'm going to take these lemons, make some lemonade, start a lemonade store, franchise that lemonade store, then sell it for $20 million. That's my mindset, right? Because I know that I have an opportunity. So we and our agents have a big meeting, and I'm like, I need a publicist. Maybe we can blow up acting and whatever, right? And we go and try to find publicists, and they all tell me the same thing. Well, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We really can't do things. It's kind of difficult. But boom, boom, boom. We're working from home. I was like, okay, thank you. And this is one of my hustle tactics. Learn how to learn. Every time I get stuck, somebody tells me I can't do nothing, or I want to learn something very fast, instantly, I join an organization, association, or a society. And in associations, they are filled with people who do a certain profession, right? And they love their profession. That's why they're in the organization, and they've been doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And they've got mastery at it. And then you've got 50 people in this organization who run it. Now you've got all this knowledge at your fingertips. All you got to do is join. Don't even got to join. You can just pick up the phone and call every single number that's on that organization's website and let them pitch you while they teach you, right? And I said, I'm gonna be my own damn publicist. And I joined the Public Relations Society of America, PRSA. 2 days in, I'm on a Zoom call. This big CEO of this PR firm. I raised my hand. I said, hey, I got a press release. Are they still relevant? I know they're relevant, but sometimes it feels good to get that validation, right? From somebody who actually knows, because you want to know if you might get some extra little nuggets, right? So they're like, well, what's it for? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of featured in a Geico commercial called Scoop, There It Is. And I'm looking at the chat and it's like, is that him? That can't be him. Oh my gosh, my wife loves him. Man, that's a great commercial, dude. It just blew up the whole Zoom call.
Oh, yeah.
And the moderator's like, we'd like to welcome DC to the PRSA. We're gonna talk about that Geico commercial afterward. But back to his question, our press release is relevant. And the CEO's like, yes, because the whole last year has been COVID. Everybody's been cooped up. Last year's been political. Everybody's been fighting each other. And here you guys come throwing sprinkles and spinning scoops and dancing, and DC, your smile, bringing joy to the world. Of course, that press release is going to work. And not only is that press release going to work, you're going to go here to get in front of all the publishers. You're going to go here to get in front of all the journalists. You're going to go here to get in front of all the TV talk shows. You're going to go here to get in front of all the podcasts. You're going to make sure your pitches are like this. You're going to run it like this. And she gave me the entire breadth of her expertise in being in the game for 40 years in 10 minutes. And I have not looked back. And it has opened doors for me that I could have never imagined possible. And it is the reason that we are talking right now. Go figure, right? And that Wednesday, I dropped that press release. Super Bowl week. That Thursday, I get a call from the Dan Patrick Show. We need you on the Dan Patrick Show in the morning. Friday morning, I'm on national TV on the Dan Patrick Show because of a press release, right? Changed the whole trajectory of everything I was doing. Not because of anything else but the hustle. Not giving up, playing offense, learn how to learn. No quid pro quo. You just play offense and keep throwing them out there. Keep planting them seeds.
Party people! Yeah! Tag team music in full effect. That's me, DC, the brain supreme. And my man Steve Rowland. We're kicking the flow. And it goes a little something like this. Tag team back again. Check it, direct it, let's begin. Party
For more information on DC Clan and Tag Team, check out their website, tagteambackagain.com. They're on facebook.com/tagteamwhoomp. They're on Twitter, Tag Team Back Again. On Instagram, Tag Team Whoomp. DC Glenn is on Instagram at DCGlennATL, and he's on Twitter at DC Gotta Eat.
You can follow us on all the various socials. You can check out our website at rockandrollgradschool.com for more grad school content. And please leave us a review on iTunes. We're tired of asking our family members to do so.
Today's show was produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. Our graphic designer is Samantha Mastonin. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.